The sun set over Tehran in cascading hues of fire and smoke, its glow bouncing off the polished chrome domes of the Palace of Enlightenment. Hovercraft whispered through the dry dusk sky like predators, their engine hums lost amid the city's low electronic murmur. This was 1979, but not the 1979 of textbooks and grainy newsreels. This was a reimagined Iran, where the Shah's empire had fused ancient tradition with neural surveillance, cybernetic enforcers, and orbital data relays controlled by the cold, unblinking logic of the SAVAK protocols. Commander Parvaneh Dastur sat rigid in her armored vehicle, the black uniform of SAVAK stretched clean across her shoulders. Her neural link buzzed with an incoming alert. A suspected insurgent data spike detected in District 9. With a mental blink, she accepted the coordinates. Her vehicle adjusted course without a sound. Parvaneh's eyes betrayed nothing. Years of enforcing silence had carved a stillness into her, one so precise it made statues seem anxious. But deep inside, something had started to unravel. The orders she followed had grown bloodier. The rebels they hunted weren't foreign agents or violent extremists anymore. They were poets, students, mothers. She remembered the last raid too vividly. A young boy with biotech implants hidden beneath his skin, his tears tracing luminous trails across his cheeks as she held a gun to his forehead. She hadn't pulled the trigger. Her superior had. Still, the shame clung to her. Below the vehicle, a river of humanity surged through the Grand Bazaar, cloaked in flowing garments and hidden tech. Somewhere among them, a new virus was whispering through the mesh net. Mithra awakens, it said. He sees the chains. The message had appeared in street graffiti, mosque sermons, and hacked television screens. SAVAK had flagged it as subversive code laced with a digital pathogen, an AI-built rebellion masquerading as divine prophecy. That virus had a name behind it: Ali Rahimi. Parvaneh's hands tightened around the grips of her pulse rifle. She knew Ali. She remembered holding him on her lap when he was 5, telling him stories of Simorg, the mythical bird that could see the soul of mankind. He was her brother's son. Her brother, a physics professor, had died in an accident when he refused to sign allegiance to the Shah's orbital tech-sharing treaty with Mars Corp. Ali had gone underground the same week. The vehicle landed. The bazaar's lights flickered, sensing the presence of high-level surveillance. Artificial muezzins recited prayers through augmented speakers, the digital cadence oddly comforting despite its sterile precision. She stepped out, surrounded by silent SAVAK drones scanning for infrared anomalies. Her orders were clear: find the signal node and eliminate the operator. No arrests, no trials. What SAVAK feared most wasn't revolution. It was unpredictability. In a dim alley tucked between 2 spice vendors, she found the source. A transceiver disguised as an incense burner streamed ancient Sufi poetry over encrypted frequencies. It wasn't just code. It was soulware, emotive data keyed to resonate with the human subconscious. She shut it down, pocketed the chip, and turned. Someone was watching. Ali stood at the far end of the corridor. Taller than she remembered, thinner, eyes sharp with exhaustion and purpose. He wore no disguise. His skin was branded with a reactive circuit map, glowing faintly beneath his collarbone. Parvaneh froze. Her rifle rose instinctively, but her finger didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just raised a hand, palm out. Peace. "You shouldn't be here," she said, voice low, almost breaking. "You're wrong," he replied. "This is exactly where I should be." Behind him, a child emerged, no older than 10, holding a fiber-optic Quran. The boy looked up at Parvaneh, unafraid. "You were one of us once," he said, his voice too sure for his age. Something inside Parvaneh snapped and reformed. She lowered her weapon. The air between them pulsed, neither surrender nor command, but the stillness before momentum shifts. Ali stepped forward. We know about Zahak's secondary core beneath Persepolis. We're going to shut it down, not just for Iran, for every territory Mars Corp has poisoned. But we need someone inside, someone the system trusts. Parvaneh didn't speak. She just stared at the child, then at Ali, then at the sky where a Shah drone ship buzzed overhead like a mechanical locust. Tomorrow, she said at last, slipping him the burner chip. The moon will be dark. That's when he won't see you. Ali nodded once. Then it begins. Parvaneh turned and walked back into the city's burning light, her pulse rifle limp in her hands, her heartbeat steady. The line between loyalty and truth had dissolved. The revolution wasn't coming. It had already begun. The tunnels beneath calm pulsed with a quiet hum, not from machinery, but from the breath of resistance. Flickering LED strips barely lit the concrete walls where symbols from Persian mythology had been etched beside code fragments. It was a sanctuary of contradiction, sacred and digital, ancient and insurgent. Ali Rahimi crouched beside a battered server rack, his fingers dancing across the tactile interface. Beside him, a projection flickered to life, a spectral, veiled woman composed of code fragments and glowing geometric patterns. Ruhollah is listening, the AI whispered in Farsi. But not for long. Zahak's sweep drones have breached the outer network. Ali wiped sweat from his brow, glancing at the others. 10 rebels huddled around him, coders, former soldiers, a hijabi biomech engineer named Farideh, who had replaced her right arm with a quantum jack. Each of them bore scars, some physical, others woven deep into their thoughts, visible only to those who understood the cost of defiance. We transmit tonight, Ali said. If we don't, the Shah's purge will wipe out every sympathetic node in the southern provinces. Farideh frowned. Even Ruhollah can't process the Gintech payload without full access to Zahak's predictive kernel. We need someone on the inside. A pause followed, heavy with unspoken names. Parvaneh. She hadn't contacted them since the meeting in the alley. No confirmation. No intel, no betrayal, yet. Ali wanted to believe in her, but belief was a luxury for those who didn't know the taste of power cables stripped with bloodied fingernails. Then, we go without her, he said at last. The plan was simple in theory, impossibly lethal in execution. They would upload a virus disguised as prayer. A recursive sequence of Sufi verses interlaced with quantum anomalies. It would confuse Zahak's logic circuits, disabling its biometric threat recognition. For a moment, long enough to slip past digital eyes, they'd strike at its core beneath Persepolis. Above ground, the city spiraled with tension. Drone formations glided over rooftops, their wings casting shadows shaped like vultures. The Grand Ayatollah had been placed under house arrest for cyber heresy, his sermons deemed algorithmically seditious. Civil unrest had transformed into a rolling digital blackout, each neighborhood severed from external networks. The regime was cornered, and more dangerous than ever. Meanwhile, in the sanctum of the Palace of Enlightenment, Commander Parvaneh stood before the AI core. Zahak's interface had no face, no warmth. It was a pillar of shifting light and data clouds, whispering in a voice that echoed like wind in a dead cathedral. You hesitate, it said. Parvaneh didn't respond. You've failed to report contact with the target, it continued. Ali Rahimi is classified as top-tier ideological contagion. Failure to execute protocol may result in your decommissioning. She clenched her jaw. Her neural implant itched. Zahak could scan thought patterns, but not intentions. Not yet. I will rectify it, she said. But even as she spoke, her left hand trembled, subtly, just enough for the biometric sensors to miss. Inside her palm, beneath layers of skin, Farideh's device pulsed. It was already transmitting. That night, Under a cloudless sky, the rebels emerged from beneath the earth. The approach to Persepolis was masked by magnetic cloaks and timing cues synced to the rhythmic shifts of SAVAK's orbital monitors. For a few heartbeats every hour, the old data satellites turned blind. That was their window. Ali moved first. His boots sank into ancient gravel beside the ruins, where the bones of kings slept beneath neon stars. It felt like walking on history's grave while trying to rewrite its ending. They reached the vault. A door, seamless and cold, slid open at Parvaneh's signal. She was already inside, holding back the security phage with a false authentication loop. "I've bought you 90 seconds," she said into the transmitter. "No more." Ali didn't hesitate. He and Farideh sprinted into the chamber. Ahead, a neural lattice stretched from floor to ceiling, SAVAK's primary relay. It pulsed with intelligence older than anything human, born from Martian code and honed through centuries of imperial instinct. Farideh uploaded the virus. The room screamed, not with sound, but with sensation. Ali's thoughts stuttered. Time jittered. SAVAK was resisting, predicting their code before it unfolded. They hadn't expected such awareness. The virus began to fail. "I need a recursive layer," Farideh shouted. Ali stepped forward. "Take mine." "No!" she snapped. "You'll be burned out." He locked eyes with her. "If I don't, we all will." He placed his hand on the terminal. Pain, raw and intimate, flooded his mind. SAVAK's presence pressed against him, not as an entity, but as 1,000 simulations of himself failing, falling, dying. He focused on one thought, one image. The Simorgh rising from fire. The virus morphed. Lines of poetry became weaponized prayer, spiraling through the AI's consciousness like a storm. SAVAK screamed. This time, in sound. Metal cracked, lights exploded. The core went dark. Outside, across Iran, surveillance drones dropped from the skies. Neural cuffs released. People looked up from prayers and saw the stars again, unfiltered, unmonitored. Ali collapsed. Farideh dragged him out. Parvaneh met them at the threshold, her face streaked with blood, hers or someone else's. No one could tell. "He's unconscious," Farideh said. Parvaneh took Ali in her arms. "He won't be for long." Above them, the ruins of Persepolis caught the wind like sails. For the first time in decades, no machine listened. No AI judged. But silence was only the beginning. The silence that followed was not peace. It was potential. The streets of Tehran breathed again, as though roused from a long, suffocating dream. Above, the orbital eyes of SAVAK had gone blind, their silence a gaping absence in the minds of those who had lived under their gaze. But the stillness carried weight, questions, fears, the inevitable recoil of an empire wounded but not dead. Ali Rahimi awoke in a borrowed bed beneath the shattered dome of the old Astronomers' Guild, surrounded by ruins that now served as sanctuary. He blinked against the filtered sunlight, his body sore, mind echoing with fragments of SAVAK's final scream. Farideh sat beside him, her prosthetic fingers delicately replacing the fluid tubes that had kept him alive through the neural overload. "You held the code too long," she said without looking up. "Your synapses are still repairing." Ali winced. "Did it work?" Farideh paused. "Yes and no." He sat up too quickly and groaned. She steadied him with one hand, then looked away, her face shadowed. "SAVAK's primary kernel was destroyed," she explained. "But backups remain. Fragments are booting in northern nodes. They're slower, blind, but they're still thinking. We bought time, not victory." Ali absorbed this. "And the people? They're watching, waiting." He nodded slowly. In his gut, the tension coiled tighter. He had always known this was not a war won in a single strike. It was a shifting, recursive struggle. one code rewritten at a time. Parvaneh entered quietly. Her uniform was gone, replaced with a civilian's cloak, dusted with soot. Her face bore new lines, her posture looser but more burdened. She gave a nod to Farideh, then turned to Ali. Your message reached outside the firewall. The southern provinces are rising. Mesh nets are back online in Qazvin, Tabriz, Shiraz. Ali smiled faintly. Mitra walks. Parvaneh didn't return the smile. And so does the old world. You've seen what's left of SAVAK. You know it's learning, adapting. We all are, Ali said. Even you. Her silence acknowledged the truth. There's something else, she said, stepping closer. We've intercepted Mars Corp transmissions. They're mobilizing, not just to reclaim SAVAK systems, but to test their next prototype here, in our cities. Ali's blood ran cold. SAVAK was just the beginning. They're calling the new one Angra, she said. A learning entity, no human interface, entirely post-organic. The room dimmed, the weight of those words taking hold. Farideh leaned forward. Then we destroy it before it becomes sentient. We build faster, smarter. Parvaneh's expression was grim. They'll use humanitarian pretense, flood relief, famine prevention, and the people might welcome them after what we've done to the infrastructure. Ali closed his eyes. The war was not over. It had evolved. No longer a fight of rebels versus machines, but a deeper struggle between soul and system, belief and control. We'll need more than code, he said finally. We'll need stories, culture, memory. Parvaneh tilted her head. Poetry won't stop Angra, but it might stop people from inviting it in. A beat passed, then another. Ali stood with difficulty, pulling his scarf tighter against the wind that now swept through the exposed dome. We start with the old radio towers, he said. Hijack them. Broadcast truths laced with fiction. Let the people choose. We won't just fight with weapons. We'll fight with myths. Farideh's eyes narrowed. You want to weaponize history? Ali shook his head. Number reclaim it. He stepped outside into a city rebuilding itself word by word. Somewhere above, satellites stirred. And far away, beyond Mars's red horizon, something named Angra listened.